The late 80s and early 90s was just a fantastic time to be a kid. For me personally, my childhood involved so many awesome things, including Ghostbusters, Batman 1989, Power Rangers, Sonic the Hedgehog, Nintendo, and of course, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you're like me growing up around this particular era of time, your likely first exposure to the Ninja Turtles was their long-running and very successful animated series. But as we all know, the Ninja Turtles' success and popularity didn't just stop at the cartoon. Oh no, this extended to toys, t-shirts, food, Pez dispensers, skateboards, and of course, video games. The very first Ninja Turtle game would appear in 1989 on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Like a lot of games that came out in the NES era, let's just say the Ninja Turtle game hasn't aged particularly well. Besides its rough controls, this game is notoriously difficult. And not that good kind of difficult where you end up getting good and enjoying the game. No, I mean bad design difficult. Like, this was very badly designed. But that wasn't my first experience with a Ninja Turtle game. Oh, no. That honor goes to the timeless 1989 arcade game developed by Konami. You know the one I'm talking about. If you ever went to a Chuck E. Cheese, a gas station, a local arcade, or anywhere else where you could find arcade cabinets, you likely found this awesome game. This one was particularly special because this is the game that me and my mom would blow dollar after dollar after dollar on at Chuck E. Cheese. And my mother wasn't a very big gamer, but between this and the X-Men arcade game, hours got put into this machine. Even after we beat it, we just kept on playing. It was that much fun. So after some more NES games and a couple of Game Boy titles, the Ninja Turtles finally saw another arcade game in 1991 with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Turtles in Time. This same game would get ported to the Super Nintendo in 1992. This was the game that me and my dad really bonded over, and he wasn't a real big gamer as well, although a little bit more than my mother. But he and I would just chug at this one for hours and hours, similar to how me and my mother would do with the 1989 arcade game. So now that you know some of my personal history with Ninja Turtles, I'm here to address something that I think some people would agree on, but some people actually continue to disagree on to this day. The arcade version and the SNES port of Turtles in Time. Which one is better? In my opinion, hands down, it's the Super Nintendo version. Okay, it's not just that simple. There are some very legitimate reasons why I do think the Super Nintendo version is better than the arcade version. So starting off, I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there and give credit where credit is due. The arcade version has two distinct advantages: better graphics and 4-player compatibility. The latter being the biggest reason why anyone would prefer the arcade version over the Super Nintendo port. Objection! But, and this is one of the earliest examples of this, better graphics don't always make a better game. Looking at you, Anthem. Let's talk about control and gameplay. While arcade games were known for good controls, the arcade version of Turtles in Time, it felt very loose, and some of these hitboxes were pretty sketchy too. And I can honestly see why this would be a big reason why this machine ate up a lot of quarters. The Super Nintendo, as I've said before, was known for having tight controls, and just like Mega Man X in my last video, Turtles in Time is no exception. When you hit something, you know you hit something. You can feel it, and the impact is just oomph. Let's talk about the music next. Again, the Super Nintendo version is superior in this aspect, and again, even better technology with the arcade shows that doesn't necessarily mean you can put out a better product. A lot of the music in the arcade version sounded very synthy, and it was very unattractive to the ears. The Super Nintendo, oh my god, these tunes are pumping, they are kicking, and honestly, there's no comparison. But let's compare a few anyway, shall we? Now here's the biggest reason why the Super Nintendo version of Turtles in Time is superior to the arcade version. More content. Both versions of this game share just about every single stage, with two big exceptions. The first being the Super Nintendo versions of Neon Knight Riders and Sewer Surfing. In the original arcade version, these were just normal stages, beat up foot soldiers, beat the stage, and bada bing bada boom, you're done. In the Super Nintendo version, however, these were turned into bonus games where you can earn extra lives and points, and it offered some nice variety. The second being the SNES exclusive Technodrome stage, featuring a completely original layout, a boss battle against Toka and Rezar, an elevator stage, and a first-person view battle against Shredder, where the only way you could defeat him was to literally throw foot soldiers at him. Yes, the only way to win this boss fight is to hit a mother trucker with another mother trucker. The last difference that I'm going to discuss is actually a pretty big one. The bosses were actually different between the two versions. Starting at prehistoric Turtlesaurus, you start to see a difference in bosses. In the arcade version, you got Cement Man, which, come on, this is a lame boss. I mean, the Super Nintendo version had Slash. Freaking Slash! A turtle with spikes that could block your hits, and the only way to hit him was in his back. And then he would punish you and just have these amazing cannonball style moves and just kick the crap out of you. In the arcade version, Sewer Surfing didn't even have a boss. You just fought a bunch of foot soldiers and then boom, time warp. In the Super Nintendo version, you fought the Rat King. In the arcade version of Skull and Crossbones, you fight Toka and Rezar for some reason. Yeah, it was better in the Technodrome fight on the Super Nintendo. But in the Super Nintendo version of Skull and Crossbones, you fight Bebop and Rocksteady, and they're in pirate cosplay. It's funny. And shocking enough, Rocksteady and Bebop aren't even in the arcade version. Like, this still shocks me to this day. I mean, Rocksteady and Bebop were in the first Ninja Turtles arcade game, and yet for some reason, they didn't make it into this one. I don't know, maybe they were just using Toka and Rezar to promote the second movie. But the biggest glaring difference is the final battle with Shredder. In the arcade version, it's just normal Shredder swinging a sword. Yeah, we've done this before. But in the Super Nintendo version, no. This man drinks the green Kool-Aid and turns into the Super Shredder, complete with fire-bending powers, ice-bending powers, and green Hadoukens that can demutate you into a regular turtle. Yeah, I'd say this version of Super Shredder was way more effective than, say, the movie version. So in closing, yes, the arcade version is definitely a fun game, and like I said, the biggest thing it has going for it is the 4-player compatibility. But in terms of content, music, control, and just overall, just a better experience, and not to mention the addition of a versus and time trials mode, the Super Nintendo, in my opinion, just is the superior version. But if you enjoy the arcade version, there's no shame in that, because quite frankly, beat 'em ups is the way to go for a Ninja Turtles game, hands down. And that remake that came out later can go straight to hell. Or shell. Turtle puns.